The wolf. The original ancestor of our dogs. More than 15,000 years of human tinkering, first by accident and later by design, has created one of the most varied-looking species on Earth. From the start, we have shaped dogs to help make our lives easier. This is the story of how wolves and humans forged a bond that changed them, us, and the world forever. Our story begins as the great ice sheets were advancing over the northern hemisphere, turning the world colder and drier. This was the Ice Age, and it belonged to the wolf. This vast landscape was their backyard. There were millions of wolves roaming the continents of the northern hemisphere. And whether they lived in the Arctic or the desert, they lived in packs. Our ancestors would have feared and admired the wolf's speed, stamina, and superior senses. The wolf pack was the perfect killing machine. Once they sniffed out prey, it was already too late. Working together, they were able to take down animals far larger than themselves. Wolf packs have a strict social order, led by an alpha male and alpha female. And the alphas got the choice bits, but the pack got its share too. And only the alpha female had pups. But just as it took the pack to bring down prey, the pack helped raise the young. A wolf pack was a family, and in that sense, they were just like us. Clan loyalty held us together too, and kept us alive against tremendous Ice Age odds. Because for thousands of years, we trespassed in a world that was not ours. Back then, there were less than 1 million people on the entire planet. And if our ancestors felt like they were always being watched, it's because they were. Wolves, like us, are curious animals. For a carnivore with a nose 100 times more sensitive than ours, the smell of cooking meat would have been an irresistible lure. They followed their noses to the edge of our camps and discovered an unexpected prize: our garbage. Even for this top predator, hunting was hard work that often went unrewarded. The most curious, least aggressive wolves discovered that there were rewards to be had living close to us. Our scraps became a new kind of fast food, and the camp wolf was born. Professor of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, Dr. Robert Wayne, is the senior author of a new genetic analysis of wolves and dogs.
I think it was initially a loose association. Wolves started following humans because they provided a resource, and then kind of adopted the human niche. And those wolves, by the nature of that new habit, that is, they were no longer territorial, they were not hunting territorial prey, they were following humans, there was some kind of reproductive divergence.
In time, the camp wolves living close to humans became genetically isolated from the wolves of the forests and wilderness. Eventually, in locations across the Middle East, Asia, and Europe, a new social order dawned. And the most curious humans and wolves were taking one small step toward the creation of the dog. This first timid contact began a dance between our two species that would change our world forever.
There must have been something special about wolves which predisposed them towards domestication. And I think the real inkling of that is wolves were the only large carnivore that human has ever domesticated.
Camp wolves became a familiar presence around our campsites. And we became more comfortable with them. These were perilous times for our ancestors. They were surrounded by animals bigger, stronger, and faster than us. When night fell, we huddled around our fires, wary of the danger from predators lurking in the darkness. It's likely the camp wolf's earliest service to humans was as an alarm to danger. In protecting her own young, this camp wolf unintentionally protected the humans. But now her pups were orphaned. The clan mothers could never have known that the cries of the wolf pups would trigger their brain chemistry, urging them to nurse for these babies just as they did their own. This brain chemical, oxytocin, is made by all mammals, and it's released through suckling and by warmth and repetitive touch. That night around the campfire, no pup or clan member was immune to the powerful connective chemistry being unleashed. Today, we are just beginning to understand how such simple acts of kindness can ignite the social brain chemistry that makes us less fearful and willing to develop social ties. The pups and clan members first felt this bond more than 32,000 years ago. As new generations from these orphaned pups were born, the camp wolf evolved into the proto-dog, the precursor to man's best friend. And with each new litter, our ancestors kept the tamest pups and shunned the rest.
Early on, any wolf that hinted at aggression, or a proto-dog that hinted at aggression towards humans, especially our children, would have been immediately removed and killed. The ones that successfully integrate with humans are the ones that tend to be more docile.
Instead of natural selection guiding evolution, human intervention changed the very nature of the proto-dogs. Long before there was a word for it, our ancestors became geneticists, and they created the wolf that didn't bite, and set the stage for all of our dogs. There is no history of dogs without humans solidly at their side. Dogs exist because we needed them. We needed them to protect us and to help us hunt, to gather our herds, haul our stuff, and later even heal us. And they do all this for us because they need us too. We humans have become their ecological niche. Our mutual need for nurturing and companionship keeps dogs near and dear to us in the 21st century. A recent genetic study provides clues of how all dog breeds are related and how they're all related to wolves.
We compared all our markers in the dog genome to the same markers in the wolf genome. And we asked, what markers are very divergent? And we find that the primary signal in the dog genome of origin is from Middle Eastern wolves.
Genetic evidence points to Middle Eastern wolves as the original ancestors of our dogs. The genetic contributions from other wolf populations all occurred at later points in dog evolution. But when did the human-dog partnership begin? Our earliest archaeological evidence is a canine skull found not in the Middle East, but at Goyer Cave in Belgium. When it was discovered in 1870, it was believed to be the skull of a wolf. But in 2007, Dr. Mita Gimonpré re-examined the skull and found something quite different.
These skulls were discovered more or less 140 years ago, and they remained in the museum since then. They were excavated in 2 different caves in the Belgian Ardennes. This skull, as you can see, is very gracile, very slender compared to this wolf skull. It has quite a short snout, and this is typical for domestic dogs. Its teeth are still quite large. So this is not typical for recent dogs, but is a sign that it's really an old dog.
This skull has been carbon dated as being over 31,000 years old, twice as old as the oldest dog skull previously found. This is the most compelling evidence that long before the end of the Ice Age, environmental and human influences had given rise to the dog. And it may have looked something like this. But was it tame?
Tameness means, to me, docility, that is. An animal that will not harm you generally and will be submissive to your needs. Domestication, to me, means much more than that. That is, if you open the gates for your dog, it may go out for a walkabout, but it's still going to come back to you for food and shelter and even for companionship. It's part of human society and dependent upon it. The Goyer skull at 31,000 years ago is indeed a very old dog, and it really does suggest that domestication occurred on the order of tens of thousands of years ago.
Other evidence of humans and dogs has been found in Israel, Western Russia, and Germany. But perhaps the most intriguing find is in southern France. Chauvet Cave, discovered in 1994, contains the earliest cave paintings in Europe. Perhaps the most important discovery was not found on the cave walls, but in the damp clay floor. Here, archaeologists found footprints of a child that appears to have been accompanied by a dog. Unlike wolf tracks, these have the shorter middle toe of a dog's. Carbon dating of the child's torch marks, swiped on the cave wall, tell us he and this ancient dog may have taken their walk together 26,000 years ago. The archaeological record is tantalizing, but sparse. And genetic research can tell us where dogs came from, but not how closely they may have looked like the dogs in our living rooms today.
In this analysis, we're looking at lineages, in a sense. We're tracing backwards in the family tree. We're not necessarily saying how that dog looked 1,000 or 2,000 years ago. We're asking what its ancestry was. So the dog that we see today and recognize as a Samoyed or a Chow Chow, its ancestors might have looked far different than that.
Our relationship may go back over 30,000 years, but what our dogs look like today is a fairly recent creation.
Something on the order of 80% of our dogs probably derived from selective breeding practices in the last few hundred years. With the Victorian era, 11,000, 12,000 years ago, there wasn't anywhere near the strict breeding regime that exists today. So an individual may have had a whole mixture of dogs, small to large, with various abilities, and tried to select amongst them, but there was nowhere near the rigid types that we see today.
The last cold snap of the Ice Age turned Western Europe both cooler and drier. As climate changed, our ancestors had to adapt. And for hunter-gatherers, hunger was an everyday occurrence. And primitive hunting could be very much hit and miss. Our ancestors discovered their dogs could flush and kill game more efficiently than they could. Dogs had the keen ears and noses to find game, big and small, and the speed and agility to run it down. Wolves were specialists in cooperative hunting. Our ancestors learned that some dogs retained the wolf's instinct to hunt and to share their food with us, their pack. We began the process of selective breeding by mating only pairs of good hunting dogs. Our ancestors were literally creating the perfect partners for the hunt. This is the modern-day Saluki. It's a living relic of one of man's earliest shaping of a good hunting dog into a great one. A Saluki-like dog skeleton was found in a burial mound in northwest Iraq that dates back to 5,500 years ago. 3,300 years ago, this fan was made for King Tutankhamun, showing the young king hunting ostriches with a dog, the spitting image of a Saluki. Salukis are sighthounds. Over millennia, Salukis were carefully bred and trained to spot and chase game across the hottest deserts. They aren't the fastest dogs humans created, but at 33 miles per hour, they're fast enough. Their real talent is being able to hold that speed for up to 2 miles to exhaust their prey, something even a wolf will rarely do. A Saluki's long legs can cover nearly 12 feet in a single stride. At 2 points in their gallop, all 4 paws are off the ground. This efficient gait contributes to their incredible endurance. Wolves can run around 30 miles per hour. At top speed, a wolf's stride is 6 to 8 feet. Salukis do not track by scent. Odors dissipate in the dry desert winds. Instead, Salukis rely on their vision to spot prey in the open landscape. Sight is generally considered one of the weaker of a dog's senses, but the long-skulled sighthounds have binocular vision like we do, and a very wide field of vision, 270 degrees. That's 110 degrees wider than ours. Selective breeding gave Salukis a powerful visual streak that runs through their retina. This is believed to make moving objects on the horizon, like prey, highly visible. From these first sighthounds came Afghans, Borzoi, Irish wolfhounds, and the fastest of all, the greyhounds.
Where's the bird? Find a bird. Whoa.